My wife cheated with her boss, then suddenly claimed our family farm worth $1.2 million was gifted to her in a shady will. Now she's threatening to take everything, including the $300, $0 inheritance, and I just found out she's been manipulating the lawyer to hide her affair and fraudulently transfer the land. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am. And honestly, it's a nightmare I can't wake up from. It started with little things, strange phone calls, secretive texts, late nights that she claimed were work-related, but I knew better. My wife Emily had always been a bit of a drama queen, bitchy, manipulative, and a master at hiding her true colors. But I never suspected she'd go this far. It all unraveled in the worst way possible. I was sitting in the living room one evening, flipping through some bills and the bank statements, trying to get a handle on our finances. We'd been talking about the upcoming inheritance from my family farm, a place worth about $1.2 million, and I was trying to figure out how to manage it. Emily had always been obsessed with money. She loved the idea of wealth, status, and power. I didn't think much of it until I noticed something strange. There was a document on my desk, a will I'd never seen before. It was dated just a few weeks ago, and it mentioned that the farm had been gifted to Emily. The language was shady, vague, and suspicious. I didn't understand how she could have done that without my knowledge. When I looked closer, I saw that she'd been talking to a lawyer, some guy named Carter, who I'd never met. And that's when I started putting the pieces together. I had a gut feeling that something was off. My wife, who always insisted she was honest and straightforward, suddenly became evasive when I asked her about the will. She brushed it off, said it was a family gift and that I was overthinking. But I knew better. I could see the nervous flicker in her eyes, the way she'd changed the subject, and the way her stories about the lawyer never quite added up. I didn't want to believe she'd do something so shady, but I couldn't ignore the signs anymore. Then came the real shock. I found text messages on her phone, screenshots from some guy named Jake, her boss at the office. They'd been sneaking around, apparently having sex behind my back. I saw explicit messages, photos, and plans to meet up. The worst part, she lied to my face when I confronted her about the texts, claiming it was just harmless flirting, that Jake was just a friend, and that I was paranoid. That's when I realized that my wife was not only cheating but also manipulating everything to cover her tracks. It hit me like a punch to the gut. All those late nights, her secretive phone calls, her cold attitude when I asked about her day, it all made sense now. She'd been lying to me for months. And to top it off, I discovered she was trying to push through a shady transfer of the farm, using her lawyer to hide her affair and her fraudulent plans. She's trying to claim our family land, plus the inheritance, and I suspect she's been playing me all along. She's convinced she can get away with everything, and honestly, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel anymore. Angry, betrayed, devastated, and confused all at once. I've never felt so stupid in my life. For not seeing it coming. I trusted her, I built a life with her, and now I realize she's been working behind my back, cheating, lying, scheming. And what kills me most is the betrayal on all fronts. The money, the trust, the marriage. I always thought we were solid, but she's turned out to be someone I don't even recognize. I'm sitting here trying to process everything, wondering how I got to this point and what I'm supposed to do next. After discovering the texts and the shady will, I was in shock. I couldn't believe she'd been sneaking around, having sex with her boss, and trying to pull off some kind of scam to take the farm and the inheritance. My head was spinning. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I needed to confront her, but I also knew I had to be careful. Emily isn't the type to take things lying down. She's manipulative, bitchy, and she always has a way of turning things around to make herself look innocent. The next day, I decided I had enough. I called her into the living room, trying to keep my voice steady. She sauntered in, wearing that fake innocent look she always put on when she knew she was about to lie her ass off. I looked her right in the eyes and said, "Emily, I found your texts. I know about Jake. I know about the will. And I know you're trying to scam me out of the farm, aren't you?" She blinked, then scoffed. "Oh, please, you're overreacting. This is just some stupid coincidence. Jake's just a friend. The will, that was a gift from my family, and I didn't think I needed to tell you. You're always so paranoid." I felt my blood boil. A gift? You're trying to tell me you didn't manipulate the lawyer, that you didn't scheme to transfer the land behind my back. You think I'm stupid. Her eyes narrowed. You're imagining things. You always jump to conclusions. Maybe you're the one cheating, huh? Maybe you're the one hiding stuff from me. That was the last straw. I told her I'd had enough of her lies and manipulations. I threatened to get a lawyer and to review the will and all the documents. She started yelling, calling me paranoid, saying I was ruining our marriage over stupid accusations. But I knew better. I knew she'd been lying to me from the start, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head, her secret calls, her sneaky behavior, the way she lied so easily. I felt so betrayed. How could she do this to me, to us? I'd worked so hard to build a life, and now I was staring down the barrel of losing everything. Our farm, my inheritance, my trust in her. The anger was building inside me, but so was a cold resolve. I knew I had to fight back, not just for the farm, but for whatever shred of dignity I had left. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became that Emily wasn't just cheating on me. She was actively trying to steal from me. She'd lied about her affair, lied about the will, and she'd been manipulating the lawyer to keep her secrets safe. I realized I couldn't just confront her and hope for the best. I had to come up with a plan. Something to expose her once and for all. Something that would make her realize I wasn't going to roll over and let her take everything without a fight. I started digging into the lawyer's background, looking for any signs of misconduct. I found out Carter had a history of shady deals, bending the law for wealthy clients. That made me suspicious. I also hired my own lawyer to review the documents she'd signed, and I began gathering evidence, screenshots, bank statements, emails. I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but I couldn't let her win. Not after everything. And then I made my decision. I was going to expose her, publicly if I had to. I wasn't just going to sit around and watch her steal my inheritance, my land, and destroy what we built. I was going to fight for what's mine, and I was going to make sure she paid for her lies and betrayal. I've never felt so angry, so hurt, and so determined in my life. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about standing up for myself against a woman who had lied, cheated, and manipulated everything for her own gain. The more I dug into everything, the clearer it became that Emily had been orchestrating this whole thing for months. She'd been subtly pushing me aside, making me doubt myself, and slipping behind my back to set herself up for a big payday. I found out she'd been secretly meeting with Carter, the lawyer, outside of my knowledge. Their emails were full of coded language, discussing how to transfer the land without raising suspicion. She'd clearly been planning this for a while, and I was just now catching on. What really pushed me over the edge was discovering how she'd manipulated the lawyer into forging documents. I got access to some of their email exchanges, Carter assuring her that he could handle everything and make sure she got what she wanted. It was obvious she'd been using her charm, lying through her teeth to get him to do her dirty work. She told me she only wanted the farm as a gift, but I knew better. She'd been scheming to make it look like a legit inheritance, but it was all a lie. I decided I needed to confront her again, but this time with some leverage. I set up a hidden camera in the living room, thinking I might catch her in the act or get her to slip up. That night she came home late, smelling of perfume and lipstick, nothing unusual for her, or so I thought. I pressed record as she started her usual bitchy attitude, denying everything, calling me paranoid, accusing me of spying on her. I kept calm, but inside I was seething. Then she slipped up. She mentioned meeting with Carter to finalize everything, and I caught her lying about what they discussed. I played the recording back and her face went ashen. She tried to deny it, but I had her dead to rights. I told her I knew about the fraudulent documents and her plans to transfer the farm. Her reaction was priceless. She started yelling, calling me crazy, saying I was trying to ruin her, that I was just jealous because she was better than me. That's when I realized I had enough evidence to blow her entire scheme wide open. I also discovered that she'd been manipulating the lawyer to hide her affair with Jake, her boss. She'd been funneling money into secret accounts, making it look like the inheritance was a gift from her family. But I found out she'd forged signatures and lied to the lawyer about her intentions. She thought she could get away with everything because she's so bitchy and manipulative, but she was wrong. I knew I had to act fast. I contacted my own lawyer and laid out everything I'd uncovered. We discussed options: going to court, exposing her in the press, or even confronting her publicly. I was ready to do whatever it took to stop her from stealing the farm and the inheritance. I also contacted the bank and the lawyer's office to verify all the shady transactions. They confirmed that she'd been trying to pull off a fraudulent transfer, and I had enough to get a restraining order if needed. The worst part was the emotional toll. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I'd loved Emily once, or at least I thought I did. Now I saw her for what she really was: a liar, a cheat, a manipulative bitch who'd do anything for money and power. It hurt more than I can say. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I let her get away with this for so long. But I knew I couldn't dwell on that now. I had to focus on stopping her before she took everything I cared about, so I made a decision. I was going to confront her with everything I had, show her I wasn't some naive fool. I was planning to tell her that I was going to fight her in court, that I'd expose her lies, and that she'd never get away with stealing my land or inheritance. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I had the proof. I didn't care about her bitchy attitude or her manipulative ways. I was done playing nice. This was war, and I was ready to fight dirty if I had to. I knew I had the upper hand now, and I was going to use every ounce of it to come out on top. The confrontation I planned was brutal, but it was necessary. I knew Emily would never admit to her schemes outright, so I prepared everything meticulously. I brought all the evidence: screenshots of her texts, the email exchanges with Carter, the forged documents, the bank statements showing suspicious transfers. I wanted her to see I wasn't bluffing. I also brought the recordings from the hidden camera, knowing they'd hit her where it hurt. When I finally sat her down, she immediately started her usual bitchy act, trying to pretend she was the victim. "You're crazy," she snapped, crossing her arms. "You're just jealous because I'm better than you. I never cheated on you, and I didn't do anything wrong with the lawyer. You're paranoid, and you're ruining everything: our marriage, our life." I cut her off, sliding the evidence across the table. "No, Emily, you've been lying to me from the start. The texts with Jake, the forged documents, the illegal transfer of the farm, I have everything. You thought you could manipulate me, Carter, and everyone else to get what you want. Well, I'm not stupid anymore." Her face paled. She stammered, trying to come up with excuses. "It's not like that. I was just trying to protect us. The farm's worth so much, and I thought it was a gift from my family. I didn't mean to hurt you." "You lied," I interrupted. "You lied about everything. You cheated with Jake, manipulated Carter, forged signatures, and tried to steal the land from under my nose. And all you care about is money, power, and your stupid ego." She looked furious, then suddenly broke down into tears. "You don't understand," she sobbed. "Jake means nothing. I only did it because I wanted a better life. I thought if I played my cards right, I'd get everything I ever wanted. You're just too blind to see how much I've sacrificed for us. I didn't want to lose everything, and Carter promised he'd make it all legal. It's not like I was trying to cheat you out of the farm. I was just trying to secure our future." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Her lies kept piling up. I felt a mixture of anger, disgust, and sadness. How could she spin it like that? She's always been a bitch, but now she's just a cold, manipulative liar. I told her I was done trusting her, that I was going to take legal action to stop her, and that she'd never get her hands on the farm or my inheritance. I handed her a copy of the evidence and told her I was calling my lawyer immediately. She yelled, cursed, and threw a tantrum, but I stayed calm. I knew I had her cornered. I also made it clear I'd be reporting her to the authorities for fraud and embezzlement if she didn't back off. I told her she was done manipulating everyone, especially me. That night, as she stormed out of the house, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. I'd finally confronted her, laid everything bare, and taken back control. But the damage was done. The trust was shattered beyond repair. I knew I'd never see her the same way again. I'd spent so long trying to hold on to what we had, but now I realized I needed to focus on my own recovery. Over the next few days, I worked with my lawyer to file the necessary papers. We prepared to challenge the will, revoke her power of attorney, and freeze any suspicious accounts. I also contacted the local authorities about her fraudulent activities. It was a long, exhausting process, but I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. I was finally taking control of the situation. Meanwhile, Emily kept trying to call and message me, but I didn't respond. I knew she was desperate, trying to manipulate her way out of it, but I wasn't going to let her. I'd learned a hard lesson about trust, manipulation, and betrayal. She was a bitch, pure and simple, selfish, manipulative, and willing to destroy everything for her own gain. And I was determined to make sure she paid the price for her actions, no matter how long it took. The legal battle that followed was a nightmare, but honestly, it was necessary. Emily did everything she could to fight back, trying to claim she was the rightful owner of the farm, accusing me of harassment, even threatening to take me to court for custody of the inheritance. But I had all the evidence on my side. The forged documents, the emails, the recordings, they painted a clear picture of her deception. I wasn't going down without a fight. My lawyer advised me to prepare for a lengthy court process. Emily had hired her own lawyer, some high-priced, slick guy who tried to spin her lies and defend her fraudulent claims. I could see the desperation in her eyes. She was used to getting her way, used to manipulating people, but this time she was outmatched. I felt a strange sense of satisfaction knowing I had all the cards. During the court hearings, Emily's bitchy attitude was on full display. She tried to paint herself as the victim, saying I was paranoid, that I was trying to ruin her reputation, that everything was just a misunderstanding. But every time she opened her mouth, my lawyer shot down her lies with facts and hard evidence. The judge was unimpressed with her manipulations, especially after seeing the proof of her forged signatures and her attempts to transfer the farm illegally. The most shocking moment came when the judge ordered an audit of the land transfer documents. Turns out, Emily had indeed forged signatures and falsified the paperwork to make it look like the transfer was legitimate. The judge was furious. She called Emily's actions fraudulent and deceitful, and she ordered the transfer of the farm to be nullified. Emily's face went pale and she tried to protest, but there was nothing she could do. Meanwhile, I also filed for a restraining order against her. I didn't want her coming near me or trying to manipulate me again. The court granted it, citing her ongoing attempts to deceive and her aggressive behavior. I finally felt some sense of security, knowing she couldn't hurt me or sabotage my life anymore. As the legal dust settled, I started to reclaim what was mine. The farm was officially returned to my name, and I was awarded the inheritance from my family, about $300, $0. It wasn't the full $2 million I'd hoped for, but it was enough to start rebuilding my life. I also worked with a financial advisor to secure my assets and make sure Emily couldn't manipulate me again. The aftermath was a roller coaster of emotions. I was relieved, angry, hurt, and exhausted all at once. I'd lost trust in the woman I thought I knew, but I also gained clarity. I realized I'd been blind for too long, letting her manipulate me and take control of our life. The betrayal cut deep, but it also made me stronger. I learned that sometimes you have to fight for yourself, no matter how much it hurts to confront the truth. Now I'm in the process of healing. I've sold the family farm, moved into a new place, and started focusing on myself. It's not easy, but I know I'll come out of this better than before. I want to warn others, trust your instincts, pay attention to the signs, and never let anyone manipulate you into losing what's rightfully yours. Emily's betrayal was a hard lesson, but it taught me that standing up for myself is the only way to move forward. And honestly, I don't regret it. It's been the most painful experience of my life, but I finally feel like I'm on the path to reclaiming my peace. Looking back now, I realize how much I was blinded by love and trust for so long. Emily was manipulative from the start, but I chose to ignore the signs because I wanted to believe in us, in our future. That's the biggest mistake I made, trusting someone who clearly had her own agenda, someone willing to lie and cheat her way to wealth and power. It's a hard lesson, but one I won't forget. Getting through the legal battle was exhausting, emotionally draining, and at times downright humiliating. Seeing her try to spin her lies in court, pretending she was the victim, was infuriating. But I held my ground, backed by evidence and the support of my lawyer. When the judge finally ruled in my favor, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. Relief because I finally had what was rightfully mine back. Emptiness because I'd lost the woman I thought I knew, the partner I once loved. Now I'm rebuilding. I've sold the farm, taken my inheritance, and started fresh. I've learned to trust my instincts again, to listen to that voice inside telling me when something isn't right. I've also learned that money isn't everything, but having control over your own life and assets is crucial, especially when the people closest to you are capable of betrayal. To anyone out there going through something similar, I'll say this: trust is fragile. Watch for the red flags, secretive behavior, lies, manipulations. Don't ignore your gut. And if you suspect someone is trying to steal from you or manipulate you, fight for yourself. Gather evidence, seek legal help, and don't let anyone take what you've worked so hard for. Because at the end of the day, your peace of mind and integrity are worth more than any asset or inheritance. Emily's betrayal changed me. It broke me in ways I never thought possible, but it also made me stronger. I now know what to watch out for, and I refuse to let anyone manipulate me again. I hope sharing this story can help someone else see the warning signs before it's too late. Trust is a beautiful thing, but it's also fragile. Protect it, and never let anyone take advantage of your kindness or your trust. Life's too short to be played for a fool.